I've been mostly using my X2D as a portrait camera, fighting between the 65 and the 80 for the past couple months. I did have the zoom, but I sold it because I wanted more separation from my subjects in the background. The zoom's great though. I mean, I could really have gotten away with it. I just wanted more. I feel like anyone who shoots one of these cameras wants a little bit more. I ended up picking the 80 over the 65. The main reason really is just I want that extra separation that the 1.9 provides. The 65 is great because it could pretty much be an all-rounder lens, and I do prefer the Sunstars I got off the 65. Both lenses are incredibly sharp. I do feel like the 80 is sharper. I've heard people say that the 80 is not a very fast focuser, but I think that's because at 1.9 you do have the thinnest depth of field, and it's trying to, lock onto that very thin area. But if you step this down to 2.8, it focuses quicker and on and on. It's funny, I got kind of my favorite photo with the system using the 65. I don't know if I had this 80 instead on that same shoot, if it would have looked the same. But my second favorite shot was taken with the 80. This camera right now with the 80 on here weighs right at 5 pounds. This is extremely heavy. I don't even take it with me some places. And, I remember when I had my Leica system, I had a 75 1.9 from Voigtlander. I got my best picture ever, in my opinion, with that lens. And that brings me to Leica, because I've got to be honest, I'm kind of considering going back. I'm a little bit on the fence here. Autofocus is a fantastic thing to have, and this camera focuses fast enough. I kept this at 1.9 on my last portrait shoot, and would just, I had a legitimate model who knew how to move, and I just kept taking the picture, and it nailed focus on her eye, like I think 100% of the time. So I don't think this is a bad performer as far as autofocus goes. It catches, these X2Ds get a bad rap for that. And supposedly you need the newer lenses to take advantage of the phase detect autofocus, but it's fast enough on here, and I'm not sure you're going to see a huge jump in performance. So I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think I'm going to change, but I'm just entertaining the idea right now. But it is really nice to have like my model's eye in focus at that f1.9 medium format. And, I know if I had that Leica, I would be missing, focus. That's always a horrible feeling when your subject is giving you something really special and then you find on the computer later on that you missed it. I would like to try the new 90 out, but they're impossible to get. I've heard that it's a better image quality lens than the 80, and I'm having a hard time thinking that's possible, but it could be true. I am sort of interested in that 25 2.5 as my wide angle. I'm not sure if that's too wide. The 28 would be nice just because it's so small, but f4 only is always a turnoff for me. I want a fast lens, so the 25 2.5 would be great, but it's about the same size as this. And the 38 2.5, that seems to be a pretty safe way to go. However, it's not as weather sealed as these older lenses. So I'm just kind of in no man's land, but the M series does have way more lenses to choose from and a lot more fast lenses, and I am a huge fan of fast lenses. And that is something that kind of bothers me about medium format. There's just not many bright lenses to choose from, like actually bright lenses. Coming from a Leica system where they've got like 0.9s, but I only use 1.4s generally, which is still, more depth of field than this, but you also get the 1.4 aperture of light. You're actually getting much more light. Unless I'm wrong about that, feel free to chime in, but I don't think I am. And with most of the other Hasselblad lenses, you're stuck to f4. I personally can't be thrilled at f4. But I think for my wide angle lens, it's probably going to be the 30 f3.5, because I know those Sunstars do have that old school look. But what I was getting at between the 80 and the 65 is, supposedly the 65 is a great landscape lens. I know it's a great portrait lens, and I did get what I feel like is my best quality portrait with it. I feel like if I had this 80 in that same scenario, I would have been just as happy. It's kind of hard to compare. And I don't like to do like behind the scenes stuff when I'm shooting models. I really like to just have, if it's possible, just me and my model alone. I feel like I can connect better. I can focus better. If there's someone walking around or like adding input, it just kind of, I don't know, gets in the middle of my process. And, that's just how I am. You can be however you want to be. Peter Lindbergh is one of my favorite photographers, and he mentions that, other people on set, chiming in when you're working, like sometimes they get excited about something that isn't good, and now you have to entertain that idea and waste time and energy, when you were almost to where you wanted to be. And as photographers, I feel like you've got an idea of what looks good, and that's what you should focus on. And that's why I'm losing my mind buying cameras, because I want I want to feel like whenever I'm working with someone that I can provide them with something really special. I feel good when I see something I'm proud of. I'm just chasing that dragon constantly, which is why I have this camera. And I know you can do great work with full frame cameras, Canons, Nikons, all that stuff. But, when I pick up something like this, I feel like I've got something special. And, that goes a long way. Plus, this is so nice to hold. If anyone's held an X2D, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not quite sure what my other lens is going to be, but whatever the other lens is going to be, whatever lens that is going to stay on this body most of the time. And then anytime I'm doing a portrait-related, venture, this is going on here. I got a lot of great shots with my M system, but the lack of autofocus is kind of a big deal. So it kind of boils down to, portability, which you're going to get more shots if you have your camera more places. Like, I didn't bring this to Waffle House with me today, and I wish I did. But, whipping this thing out is like whipping out a gun, in public. People stare. But when I would take out my M11, no one even cared or noticed. And, that's super nice for a photographer who enjoys candids. So, in a perfect world, I'd have all the cameras. I feel like image quality between the two is the same, and that's what I'm going to end on. Like, my favorite portrait I've ever taken was taken with the M11. Something about just the black and white shadows, everything. I've been trying to recreate it a little bit with this guy, but it's not. There is a Leica look, and I'm not quite sure if I prefer it. They're both super high image quality, but the Hasselblad for colors totally stomps the Leica. So I am kind of considering just getting an M11 monochrome. But I do have, I'm taking some photos for someone next week. I don't want to be like, hey, these have to be in black and white because that's all my camera shoots. But I generally don't shoot anything but personal projects right now. And most of the stuff I like to do is black and white. So I don't know. It's a lot to mull over. Thanks for watching. I'll let you know what I end up doing.